Hello and welcome to our Ramadan podcast series for Youth and Access. Today we have two special guests. We have Jonathan and we have Ali Yusha. My name is Ahmed. I'm from Germany. I'm here for a gap year. And we have, as I said, we have two special guests today. We have Jonathan, he's a revert, and Ali Yusha, he's a revert as well from Germany. He's my friend. And today we're going to talk about their stories, why they choose Islam, and how it was. And of course, the experience about Ramadan. And Jonathan, you want to start?
Yeah, of course. So, and you for introducing us as well. So just to start off with my story from the very start as well. I was born and raised as a Pentecostal with my family, right? A Pentecostal is a branch of Christianity where instead of the Holy Trinity, you believe everything has one form instead. And it was even to a point where I was raised into this. I was even a youth group leader as well.
Like you were a Christian?
Yeah, pretty much. And I would just kind of go to church and I would kind of help mentor kids as well.
Okay.
And so then I kind of got to a point where I was about 17 as well. And my mom kind of stopped going to church as well. And I started questioning, okay, is this what I'm meant to believe in? Is this something that I should believe in just because I was raised into it? Mm-hmm. Or maybe there should be more to it.
Yeah.
So as a part of my timeline as well, after finishing school during that time, I happened to kind of stay in touch with one friend that went to this school at Amity College. Mm-hmm. And so he introduced me to all of his friends, and pretty much all of them were Muslim as well. And yeah, it was just pretty much I just built a good friendship with these guys initially. And then over time, that they knew that I was a Christian, and I was fairly open-minded, I would like to say. And they would sort of kind of joke around. It starts off with banter, right? Like asking, hey man, so when will you revert to Islam? Like, come on, it's sort of the right way to do things. Those sorts of conversations are definitely a good way to act as a catalyst, but it won't effectively work, right? When you look at an individual person, you need to understand what they're looking for as well. But these were very kind and supportive people either way, that they weren't just trying to use me as a way to gain some form of hasanat.
Normal friends? Like daily friends?
Yeah. So like they're my main friends now. So while I was growing up from the age of 17 up until now I'm 24, I met all sorts of circles of friends. Yeah. And I wanted to do my best to understand, like, okay, so I have some atheist friends. Like, why are they atheists? I have some Muslim friends. Why do they choose Islam? Yeah. And so I was kind of still, like, laid back about it until I had my own personal events in my life where... All right. So it was when I was 21. I did go through an unfortunate circumstance where my mom had passed away. Oh. Yeah, but it's simply a part of life. Yeah. It's okay. It was overall a big learning curve for me, right? Yeah. The questions you go through in your head because you're in such a serious feeling situation. I started questioning, especially, what does it mean to be a strong man? Like, what does it take? No. And so, yeah.
There was no religion? Just
I don't know. You would hear people go around saying that they're kind of agnostic in a way, where they believe there is a God, but they don't know what's the right thing to go into. So I'm like, okay. I looked at all my circles of friends, and I thought, okay, my Muslim circle, these guys seem like they're pretty strong people. They kind of know what they're doing well. Yeah. And so how I started things was I just kind of went to each of them individually and I asked them, hey, so what's your most memorable surah from the Quran? What's the thing that helps kind of ignite you every time you read it? And they would all tell me different surahs. And there was a beauty in that because there is a certain part of the Quran that would affect you differently. Yeah. And so I was just kind of curious. I'm like, okay, so there is an English version. I may as well just read it to see what happens. And one of the most strongest feelings I felt at the time was when I read Surah Ad-Duha. Sorry if my pronunciation is wrong as well.
Fun. It's good.
Yeah, it's a very short surah, but it was the most impactful for me. Alhamdulillah. And so as a part of this, I've pretty much finished uni. I went into finding my full-time job after finishing uni. And I was mixing with coworkers that would, like, you know how the office environment is.
Mm-hmm.
When it's Friday, everyone wants to go down to the pub, maybe have a drink.
Yeah.
I would kind of just tag along because, I don't know, I just, that was all I kind of knew at the time. I just thought maybe I should just hang out with these people. It was also at the same time, I started going to Friday night sohbet as well, where it's a Friday night talk and everyone comes together and they would discuss a different hadith and all these different stories. Sometimes I would just go in and maybe I would gain maybe 10% of knowledge from the 100% that they would talk about. Just a tiny fraction. But I was still happy because it would always build.
Spirit and all these,
it was a spirit of just a brotherhood that I really liked. And so I ended up coming week by week, slowly building on my knowledge. I think from my point of view, it might take a bit of patience to want to kind of do this sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
And so I was still dealing with my mom's passing and kind of learning how to move on. So for me, I like to be a very visual sort of person. So I like to envision what's the version of me I would like to be in the future. So before I got myself into Islam, my way of self-reflection and improving myself was meditation. I just sit down and close my eyes and try and build an image of myself. So in a way, for me, I'm not sure what the best wording is for me, but I would say I experienced two visions in my life that made a big impact that led towards me reverting to Islam. So the first vision was a very fascinating one. It was a version of me where, with my imagination, I saw myself, there was a castle behind me. Mm-hmm. I was big and brawny. Yeah. I was wearing a suit of armor, and I looked very happy. And then I was also holding a yellow sword, right? And I was questioning, well, what does this yellow sword mean? What's so special about this? So for sitting on it for a while and thinking, it meant that I truly wanted to kind of come to understand people very well. If you kind of think of the practicality of a sword, it's used to pierce through people. Hopefully that doesn't mean I'm going around stabbing people. But no, so far so good. And so for why it's yellow, it means to bring the community closer, to be able to understand every person I come across and sit down with each individual and understand what they're looking for. So that's why I work hard on myself, because I want to have more to offer.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then over time, I was still confused because I still wasn't a part of Islam. And then I kind of went through this deep spiral where I was lost with my life. I'm like, is my job the only thing I should care about? Is this all there is? And then out of nowhere, I had the second vision. And it was a very beautiful vision for me. It was the complete opposite of the first vision. But there was one thing in similarity. So instead of the castle in the background, I was sitting with just dirt and rubble in the background. There was nothing there. Mm-hmm. Instead of the suit of armor, I was actually wearing nothing at all. Instead of being brawny, I was very skinny and scrawny. But I still had the yellow sword. And the look in my eyes was very amazing. I looked unfazed by the challenges that were ahead of me. So I felt in a way that, it's sort of a gift from Allah. Yeah. That even if you have nothing, absolutely nothing, you will be able to face these challenges if you have full trust in your outcome. I think it's a very difficult thing to be able to do that, straight away. Especially when you try to make your sincere du'as. It's easy to just kind of say it and then maybe it might work out. It's like kind of tossing a coin into a fountain. But you shouldn't feel like that. You should trust your outcome strongly. Vision as well. I then also...
I've got a short question to the vision.
Please. Yeah.
Did you have those visions like when you were... was it a dream or was it when you were...
It was just while I would still meditate. I would just sit and just kind of just let thoughts come.
Oh, okay.
Allow thoughts to come to me. And just, it was intention to try to understand myself. I think that's one of the most important things that I was focusing on as well. Because I was just so fixated on, okay, well, what does it mean to be strong? And so then after that, it kind of just came to me when I was thinking about, okay, so what are my strengths? What are my strengths actually meant to be? And there was, for that one time, I kind of thought outside of the box a little bit. My strengths that I felt like truly was that I could give infinite love to everything in front of me. And that infinite source, it comes from the source of Allah. You know, no matter what Allah puts in front of me, I can show love for it. And so then that was what made me feel happy to revert to Islam. And then I organized the same Shahada the following week. And then it was that Friday night sohbet. There was so many people there as well. There was at least 50 people in that small room. And then I said the Shahada, and I was also butchering it because of my accent. And then I had everybody come and give me a hug. And it was a very welcoming experience for that as well. So that's my background story. Sorry, I know it's a bit of a long story too.
So you felt like kind of direct connection to Allah, maybe at that time?
It was definitely, rather than reading the script and getting proof, it was more a feeling, more of a spiritual feeling.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if we were to also break down my learnings after that, if we were to talk about the contingency where, there's people that believe in evolution, and they would believe in how there was this massive explosion that happened that created the entire universe. I then would still believe that, regardless, it is said in the Quran that Allah is the only one who is independent. So regardless, even if this explosion happened, the explosion had to rely on one thing after another. For example, our water that comes from the earth, it comes from oxygen. It comes from this. It comes from H2O. One thing relies on one thing after another. So no matter what, no matter how much you break things down, these things had to rely on one thing after another.
Yeah.
Well, Allah doesn't need to rely on a single thing.
So the spiritual side and the logical side came together, and then you took the...
It's definitely, and I'm still learning. I'm still, alhamdulillah, I'm still happy I'm learning. And the best thing about Islam is just how you are encouraged to just seek knowledge. Yeah. That for me is just all I'm simply doing.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much for your interesting story, story. And let's talk about Alicia's reverting story.
Also, warm welcome to me for all the people listening. Like Ahmed said, my name is Ali Yusha. We came both together from Germany last October. So excuse me if sometimes I have a strong accent or I have some grammar mistakes or missing some words. My story is a little bit different, I would say. So my first, of course, when I was young, we live in a multicultural city in Germany. So from kindergarten on, I had always contact with Muslims. And I remember in fasting, when I was young, year 5, year 6, we had some Muslims in the class. They were fasting. But I remember from them on, they always had fun excuses for why they don't have to fast this day. For example, we had the sport event. They said, "Oh, we have the sport event. I can't fast today." So that was my first experiences with fasting. My first deeper connections with Islam happened maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago. It was when I was again in the same year level with Ahmed, and then we kept on building a stronger friendship. And then he invited me often to his home for just to have food with him and his family. And his family was the first Muslim family I got to know that were really practicing their religion. It was the first time that I saw someone in my daily life praying 5 times a day. To that time, I was wondering and I was appreciating it. And then last Ramadan, so in 2023, I was invited to go to an iftar at the sohbet group in Germany.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was really good. And even that Ramadan, I was fasting some days, but just for curiosity. And you was fasting, but you was just not eating and drinking. So now I know that's not the only purpose of Ramadan. But during that time, I was just experiencing it, and then we were breaking our fast together. And I was really enjoying this. So then I was also invited to the iftar at Friday night sohbet. I was going there, and then I was also like a bunch of people, 30, 40, 50 people, youth people breaking their fast, praying all together. And I was like, I never experienced this. Like, I'm Christian. My family is strong Christian. But in my friend circle, or in general, like the people I knew my age, religion didn't play a big role for them. And so I was shocked. There had so many young people praying all together, worshipping God.
Again, here the community spirit as well, right? Like many people coming together, praying, fasting, young people doing this. That's not normal at the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Then a couple of weeks, also on this Ramadan, I was invited to another friend. We had an iftar. And then I saw them again praying in congregation. And this was the first time, like while they were praying, I kind of had like a different feeling. I've never felt this before, even though I wasn't praying, like a kind of spiritual feeling, or I don't know how to describe it. And then that day I was going home, and this was the first day I was reading Quran, like the translation in German. But it was really hard to read, because when you read the translation, it's like, doesn't really touch the heart that much, because it's hard to translate the Arabic language.
Yeah.
But I was still interested. I kept going to the Friday night talks. And for me, it became a big part of my life. The whole week, I was looking forward to go to this gathering. Because, it was just a new alternative. Because normally, Friday nights, you meet with your friends and you just waste time. Like, you do whatever you want, but nothing really that has a good purpose. And so from now on, I had this alternative. I kept going and got a big part of my life. I made very close friendships there. And I started like improving my life, like thinking about it, what I'm doing with my life and all that. This was all coming after Ramadan.
Then, last year Ramadan?
Yeah, from there on it started. And then I kept going to the sohbets for 3, 4, 5 months. And then Ahmed and me both had the opportunity to go to Australia.
And now we're here.
and Alhamdulillah, I had the opportunity to come to their sana. Well, it was actually very close. Like, it almost never happened. Just 1 or 2 days before we left, my intention was to do like normal work and travel, go to hostels, travel a lot. And then just 2 days before we left, Ahmed said, okay, my mother arranged for you that you also come to their sana with us. And I was only meant to stay there 1 or 2 weeks. But yeah, alhamdulillah, I stayed there till now. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why situations are like it is now. And then I went to their sana, and I was living with like very practicing Muslims, and I saw them praying. And I remember in the first couple of weeks we went to the mosque, and I said to my friends, I also want to pray with you. But I didn't know anything about prayer. Like I knew the movements, so I just followed the movements.
Yeah.
But my intention was I wanted to thank God, because I saw the way of praying in Islam, and it was way more appealing to me than in Christianity. Because I remember from Christianity, the way of prayer is you just fold your hands, and then you make it's kind of a dua. Like you just ask God for, I want this, thank you for this, thank you for that. But it was never the fact that you just praise Allah for you being on this world. That was my intention going to that prayer. And while we were praying, I never felt this in my life. Like
it was a special feeling.
Yeah, it was a very special feeling.
Yeah. The first prayer?
It was not my first prayer. I prayed before also sometimes.
Yeah. One of the first.
But it was like the first time that I really made my intention. I want to thank Allah, or like to thank God.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I kept praying more often, like maybe 1 time a day, maybe 2 times a day, sometimes not even any day. And then I also went to the Monday night talks, because Ahmed, like my 2 German friends, went to this program as like part of their sana. I also kept going there. And then I just felt like I also want to pray, but I don't know how to pray. And then I just said to Ahmed, can you teach me how to pray? And then I started learning all the things you have to say in prayer, the actions of prayer.
Yeah.
And then I kept praying more and more, maybe 1 time a day, 2 times a day, 3 times a day. Then this was going on for like 1 or 2 months, 3 months. And then there was a day I felt like there's sunnah fasting, and I thought like, okay, maybe I try sunnah fasting as well, because like I wanted to like gain control over my nafs.
Are you meaning Monday and Wednesday fasting?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then I just fasted on, I think it was a Wednesday, And then I woke up for Fajr the first time because I thought, okay, now I'm fasting. I don't want to commit any sins.
Yeah.
And then I went to work. I thought, like, I never prayed at work because they knew I'm not Muslim. And like, I felt weird telling them I want to pray now. Yeah. So I just went to corner. No one saw me. I prayed. Mm-hmm. And this was like the first time praying 5 times a day. And now when I look back, I think I was kind of guided because from that point on, I almost prayed every day 5 times a day. Mm-hmm.
But you officially reverted like 2 weeks ago. Almost.
Yeah, that was. I was Muslim at that point.
What was like 3 months ago, 4 months ago?
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Also, there was one thing I was just curious about with learning how to pray as well. Did you find it easy to memorize, like, for example, how you would recite the Fatiha, right? Did you find that easy to learn to memorize?
To be honest, for me, it was kind of easy. But I think that's also for 2 reasons. Because, like I said, I was going to Friday night talks. And like I had a lot of contact with Muslims. So I basically heard Al-Fatiha so often. So like I had the sound in my ear already.
Yeah.
And for me in general, alhamdulillah, it's easy to learn things. Like to memorize them. Also in school, I never had problem with like memorizing. Mm-hmm. So I got that gift. So for me, it was not too hard.
It's good.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, like I said, then I kept praying more. And then we had some camps, like university camps, like spiritual camps. And then I kept going to them as well. So I was like learning deep stuff about Islam. But I wasn't Muslim. And then, of course.
Yeah, I remember he was praying 5 times a day, including tahajjud prayers. Like
That's good. Yeah. That's really good.
So it was funny because we had those camps. And like I was learning all the stuff. And then people saw me praying. And then they come to me, so when did you revert? And then I said, no, I didn't revert. I'm not even Muslim. Yeah, so that was always a very fun experience. Yeah, I kept going to more and more camps. Then we had Indonesia camp as well. 1 month in Indonesia. We were praying the whole time. And I still had very special feelings while I was praying. And then we went back and then people said like, also like a lot of RBCers said like, when did you, like they were joking like as you experienced as well. Before you go back, I want to experience a shahada. So when do you say a shahada and all that?
Yeah. Wait, but also when it comes to the special feelings that you would have like while you were praying, because I noticed you've said it a few times now as well. Like, do you mind trying to elaborate more? Like, do you feel like it was a separation from the dunya? Is there a certain way to kind of articulate it?
I don't know. Like, I remember like I was all at the very beginning. The moment I started praying, I felt very warm. Like I almost started sweating.
Yeah.
And you just leave this world behind kind of. And like you're just in a spiritual state.
Yeah. So like do you feel like with praying 5 times a day, like I'm not sure what the stresses would be in your personal life, but do you feel like it was a good way to learn to switch off for like a good 10 minutes, 5 minutes or so?
That was like not my intention. To be honest, like when I started like praying, to be honest, like I think I accepted Islam way before I said my shahada because then my intention was like, as I said, I don't want to commit any sin. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't even Muslim, but I think when I don't pray, I commit a sin.
Yeah.
I was also implementing like eat halal, not eating pork, eating halal. Mm-hmm. In general, trying to avoid any sins, but because I had the intention, like I had in my mind, if I do it, I sin.
Yeah.
So that probably means I accepted it way before I said it.
Yeah.
And then we came back from Indonesia. There was at the end of January. Also to mention this, I also started learning Quran the first month when I arrived. So since October, I was learning Quran. And
how to read Quran, right? Like
yes, the Arabic version of Quran.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, I've also made very good progress there. Like I put a lot of effort in and I really enjoyed it. To be honest, I just was offered to join. I didn't really think about it. I just said, yeah, why not? I'm interested in learning this. So let's do it.
Yeah, that's good.
And yeah, I'm very.
And you learned it very quickly. Right?
Yeah, I was very motivated.
Like
I really learned a lot for it because I had just having fun.
Yeah.
And
it's a very good feeling for
us.
Yeah.
I was reading Quran the whole time. I was praying the whole time.
So you're a proper Muslim.
Yeah, basically, I was already Muslim. I was going to Friday night talks, Jummah prayers and all that. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I remember like I was searching a job. And then the guys on the phone said, but you also have to work Fridays. And I said, yeah, I don't come because in my head I can't come because there's Jummah prayer. And I wasn't even Muslim to that time. And then Ramadan was approaching more and more, like was knocking on the door. And then I was asking me this question, like, I'm doing all the stuff and the Ramadan is coming, but like to get the full reward of it, one of the conditions for all the things I'm doing is you have to be Muslim. And then I was like, I think for me the main reason was like, because I just didn't want to tell my family and all that. And like you were just afraid of...
I was just about to ask you about this question as well. The stage before reverting, like the thoughts you would have, what people may think of you.
Yeah, I think like, to be honest, this was probably the main reason, like what people think of me.
Yeah.
And then I also asked me this question, like in my head, imagine like if I would be the only person living on this world, would I just accept it? And then I was like, yeah, probably I will do because no one would care. Like I would just pray and no one would care about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Sunday, 2 weeks ago. And I was having a call with Shanabi from Canberra. Maybe some of you know it. And then I was asking him questions. He's also reward.
Yeah.
And I also talked to him.
Shan. Yes.
I also talked to him a couple of times before, so I knew him. I knew his story, and I always felt like that he kind of went through the same things as me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked him about it, and he said, look, you're just like me. You accepted it way before you said it, but now Ramadan is coming, and you will be confronted with it every day. It will be hard, because you're doing all the things, but deep down, you know you're not Muslim. Like you didn't say your Shahada, but you know it's the right thing to do. And then he just gave me some advice. And then this day, I thought, okay, now I'm ready. Then I kept the night awake, like trying to read Quran. Then was Fajr, and then we went to the mosque. I want to say it in the mosque. And then I still remember after prayer, I said to Ahmed, no, I'm ready. And then he said, what do you mean?
I was like, what do you mean, bro? I'm ready.
And then I was just smiling at him, and then he understood. And then for some reason, we couldn't do it after the prayer. And then we went home again. And then, of course, he started questioning again, is it the right thing, is it not the right thing?
Yeah.
And then this evening, again, we went to the mosque. There was another Abi, like he said, he was asking me questions about this and that. And then just 5 minutes before the adhan for Maghrib, so to Ramadan start, I kind of found the courage to do it. Like I remember I was sitting down there. I was just worried about, I knew what I have to say it, but I just didn't want to say because I was so worried about the future and all that.
Yeah.
And then, just 5 minutes before the adhan started, I managed to say it.
Yeah. It's a nice, interesting story.
We
listened to two interesting stories, Jonathan's story and Alyosha's story. Very, very interesting. Very, I've learned lots of things. As you know, we are in Ramadan right now, and you're fasting, right? Yeah. How is it? How is it like? So first Ramadan, or did you fast like?
So yeah, just with more of my background with my Ramadan experience as well. This is technically my third time, I guess.
Third time.
Yeah. So the first time I fasted as a non-Muslim, and back then I used to see it as more of a challenge. Now with my second and third time, it's more intention to just build closeness with Allah instead. So in that way, it actually feels more easier. It's not something I should be like, I'm conquering. No, it's to get as close as possible, to build more love.
Yeah.
The second time, which was last year, I was not as prepared. There are small things you should learn to do, like turning off social media, but not on the first day of Ramadan. Do it way, way before, so it's easier to kind of get into.
Yeah.
Waking up early to pray for Fajr. Maybe do that way more in advance. So last year was a bit messy, and I also did not know how to pray. And last year, I would still go to Tarawih as well, and I would still just stay for the full 20 rakat, and I would just keep following everyone's movements. And I think you of all people know that feeling very well, where you just want to just do it.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. And so now this year, last year I saw it as more of a grace period where you're more easier on yourself as a reaver.
Yeah.
But now this year I'd like to take things more seriously. So technically I am more harder on myself, but not in a negative way. It's more like, hey, okay, I want to build this strong relationship with Allah, and I understand that these are the things I should do to do so.
So you put more discipline, more effort, and
absolutely.
That's good.
Like, and I don't want to make as many excuses as well. Like, everyone has a job, everyone's working, but I don't want to feel like, oh, there's so much going on, and then just start making excuses to break my fast or not go for tarawih or not do this or pray on time.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, this Ramadan has been going very well.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good.
Yeah, that's nice, because sometimes you forget that Ramadan's not just about not eating, not drinking. It's more than that. And that's nice. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. And Alisha, what about you? How's your Ramadan feeling?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like I said last year, I also fasted some days, but just more or less for the experience.
Yeah.
And of course, during those days, I still remember. And you should listen to music, especially rap music. So, and there was also a period of the time where we had to learn for exams, like we had our last exams. So I remember I was listening to nasheeds.
Yeah.
And I still remember from that time, even though it was only a few times where I fasted, this feeling of like fasting, listening to nasheed, and like kind of shutting away, like going away from the everyday life stress and like concentrating more about the essential things of life. When I think about this, I still have very beautiful memories. And so, this year's my first Ramadan. And also, like I said, I had some experience with fasting as well. And so, alhamdulillah, for me, fasting, it's not too big of a problem, like not eating, not drinking, because you know the purpose of doing it. So I always feel like if you just be hungry, like you don't eat the whole day and don't drink, it really feels bad because there's no purpose. Like you think, why am I thirsty? I just want to eat. But while you're fasting, because you know the purpose of it, like you know it's an act of worship, and you know you get the reward for it, inshallah.
Yeah,
you have that motivation, and like you feel that pain in your stomach, but you enjoy it because you know it's for the good purpose.
Yeah,
and like also this Ramadan for me, I just want to try to gain as much knowledge as possible. So I have some goals. I just try to read to get more knowledge about all that, and of course, I think for every one of us, the intention is to get closer to Allah.
Yeah,
and so it's actually a very good opportunity to just, for 1 month in general, to just shut down from social media, from the normal day stress, and you think more about the essentials of life. Like, what do you want to do? How do you want to live your life? Because we live in a time where there's a lot of distraction from social media. And in general, like, it's a time where there's so many distraction that's not good for mental health. So even though for non-Muslims it could be a great experience, like there has to be a reason, because I also know people, they're not Muslim and they try to fast every day. So that's probably like a big sign that there has to be something beautiful about it. And
Did you hear about how your friends would feel after fasting? Like maybe they felt spiritually. This is something as well, maybe similar to your experience.
I don't know. Like I just know, like one friend, he's fasting, but like he doesn't have any Muslim friends there where he's living.
Yeah.
So he's just breaking his fasting alone, but he's keeping on doing it.
Yeah.
So there has to be probably, like, if you wouldn't have a good feeling while you're doing it, you wouldn't do it. So I'm just assuming this.
Yeah.
But if you would hate something, you wouldn't try to do it. You wouldn't do it again. So
that's fair enough.
It's amazing. Like, nice stories. What I've like heard both of you, that you're really like open for more knowledge all the time. You want to learn more and more and more, because there's no limit in knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Especially in Islamic knowledge, there's no limit, and that's really amazing.
What you mentioned with the knowledge as well, I want to like say something about it as well.
Of course.
Especially with knowledge in Islam. For me, I feel like the knowledge, it's really valued knowledge. Like I remember from Christianity, and like if you from school lesson and all that, you learn those abstract concepts. And you learn so much about God and religion. But those concepts, it's just knowledge, but it doesn't bring you closer to Allah, or it doesn't have, like, to God. It doesn't help you to understand God. So you just know some concepts, you know how to use it. But at the end of the day, your spiritual soul won't profit from those concepts that you learn. And that's really different from Islam, because The concepts you learn, they are like to understand God better, so that if you know Allah better, you have a better relationship to Him, better worship, and to really try to think in every way you do of God. And that's where this knowledge is very different to Christian knowledge. At least that's my experience so far.
Yeah, and then to just also add on top of that as well, I feel like there is also a beauty when it comes to accumulating all this knowledge. I could say I could probably live until the end of my life, the rest of my life, learning about Islam and getting knowledge, but I can still tell you with confidence that I still know nothing, because it feels like a drop into an ocean of knowledge. There is so much to learn. So it's really nice to have.
Amazing, yeah.
So I need to interfere and ask 2 questions for both of you. Your mom passed away
That's right.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
What about your dad and your family? How did they receive these news?
Yeah. No. Of course, that's actually a very good part of the story that I should have also mentioned. So my dad and I have one older brother. He's 10 years older than me. So with our family relationship, my older brother has kind of moved out, and so him and I maybe see each other maybe once every month or 2 months or so. And my dad is he's been a strong sort of Christian for a very long time, and so that was one of the parts that I found the most difficult with reverting. Right, when you tell your parents, when hellfire would loose, it would just break loose. So telling my dad, I had to build the courage to tell him on the very night I reverted. I'm like, you know what? As soon as I revert, I have to tell my father, and I have to deal with the situation. And so so when I told my dad, it's a very difficult conversation. If for example, if you told your parents or just, hey, I'm going to change this way of life with me, and it's a complete opposite of what you may do, they would feel upset. They would feel very worried, and so my dad did not react very well. But the beauty in this situation is in what Islam teaches you. It teaches you to have patience in these conversations, and in no way I was kind of going against him. I was actually supporting his point of view. So I wanted to give him support as a son. And so, of course, the first few months after that conversation were very difficult, but then he would still keep watching my actions. And I guess in a way he started feeling, hey, so like I think my son is still doing okay. He's still very well behaved, and he's setting a very good example, or whether his personal belief is this or this. And so now our relationship is much closer than ever, actually. Mashallah. I'm so happy about that. That was one of my biggest worries is, like you wouldn't want to be lonely to a point where like your parents and you are separated. And I know there are some family households that have this difficulty. So I'll say alhamdulillah, you definitely need patience. And in a way you might feel like you need infinite patience. But it does pay off the more you show your actions. It's just you may not see it in hindsight. Yeah. But it worked out very well. And speaking of my older brother, he's fairly chill. He's not like some guy that would really argue. But that's good.
Yeah, it's good to hear that. And Ali Yusha, as much as we want you to stay in Australia for the rest of your life, probably you're going to go back before the end of this year to Germany. You learned more about Islam. You learned how to read Quran. And actually, by the time you return, probably you're going to go with full khatim and maybe trying to understand what it says. And also, you learn tajweed as well, like from the books with proper teachers and everything. When you go back, you are going to jump into the community that you were together with, but as a Muslim. What are your plans? So do you have any plans when you go back?
It's a good question. And to be honest, yes, I already have thought about it. When I say no, it's actually again funny because I thought about it before I became Muslim as well. So in my mind, I was like, I want to teach them. But that was also one thing it was really annoyed of because I always knew I want to teach them. But if I'm not Muslim, it's weird, like teaching someone about Islam when you're not Muslim. Like you said, I learned Quran. I'm right now learning Tajweed rules. Very confident, inshallah, that when I go back to Germany, I will have a good knowledge of Tajweed rules. Ahmed and some friends in Germany, they are planning to establish a Muslim youth center or general youth center. They also want to offer Quran lesson. So one of my goals is definitely to try to teach Quran there, because I really enjoyed learning Quran, and it's important to share the opportunity there, because in Germany there's lots of potential, but unfortunately there are not many of the right people that can guide you good. So there's a lot of bad influence, but not a lot of good influence. So I hopefully can change this, and I want to try to give my part of it as well, because I got a lot from the Muslim community, so I want to give it back. I'm also reading some books, like it's one of the most important duties in Islam that you tell the people to stop doing the wrong things, and like to make them aware of that they're doing the wrong things, and show them the beautiful side of Islam and the beautiful side of life. And so also when I got to university, I'm happy now. Before I said my shahada, I was always worried about it, but now I got more confident. I can implement those Muslim identity to my character, and like to be just a good person in university. When you look at the Muslims, especially the Muslims I see around here, they are very good persons, because that's sometimes what people criticize, especially in the Western country, about Muslims, that they are maybe not the perfect humans. But the people I see here, they're very different from the Western image Muslims. So maybe if people see then, okay, he's a white guy, but something is different about him. He's not going partying. He's confident with his life. He's not feeling attached. Like, he's not craving all the things we crave. And like, what is it that those people like be happy with, even though they stay away from so many things that people in this times think they make you happy. This guy is not doing anything of it. Why is he happy? So that's one of my goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very glad that I'm around those people here, because mentoring here is a big thing. So I learn a lot here about mentoring that hopefully I can put into practice when I go back to Germany.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much, both Jonathan and Ali Yusha. Let's conclude our podcast. It was a very nice discussion with you both. We had stories, how you reverted to Islam, how was the experience and all that. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming, and appreciate also you listening. Thank you very much.
No worries.